기사부대, hop on the beat!
Welcome back to the JoJo anime and manga differences. With the release of the first 12 episodes of Part 6 on Netflix, I thought I might take a different approach with this season's video. For Part 5, I worked on the video throughout the end of the season and released it almost immediately after the finale. However, the release of Part 6 is very different, and with the finale most likely coming in a big batch of episodes, instead of waiting all the way until the end, I'll go over the differences in each chunk of episodes as they release, as well as giving my thoughts on the anime so far. Later on, when the season is over, I may combine all of these into one video that covers everything. Some inclusions in the previous differences videos have caused people to ask questions, so I'll go over some of the basic rules. I'm including anything that has been changed between the manga and anime. These include differences in the story itself, the order that it is told, and the artwork of the manga. What I won't be going over, however, is any color changes that have been made, since the JoJo colored manga is done by Shueisha and not Araki. I'm only including it if it's an explicit change to Araki's art, which is in black and white. The reason for this is that certain color choices by Shueisha affect the content of the manga. For example, in the colored manga, the flashback scene with Pucci and Dio is shown with a daytime sky in the background, while in the original the sky was blank, not indicating that it was day. Other scenes that we know take place at night have also featured a blank background. It does not mean that it's a lit up sky. In the anime, the sky outside is made to be clearly nighttime, as was likely intended. Some would be tempted to say that it was changed from day to night, but in reality it was never really day to begin with, it was only a mistake on Shueisha's part. So I'll only be sticking to changes that were made to Araki's original manga going into the anime, since that's what's being adapted. The anime opens the same way the manga originally did, by showing the aftermath of Jolyne's car accident. There are some minor changes, however. In the anime, you can now see Romeo standing there as well. You can see more details of the accident, such as the glasses stuck in the windshield, which in the manga wasn't seen until later. Jolyne's outfit has been updated to be more consistent with its appearance in the flashback later, since it now has her tattoo design on her chest instead of being blank. The next scene in the manga opens with one of the prisoners sharpening a button on the bars. This is removed in the anime and it goes straight into the next page where Hermes starts talking to Jolyne. When describing the guard who saw Jolyne, Hermes no longer says that he looks like Tom Cruise. The scene where Jolyne is taken from her cell is skipped and the anime goes straight to her meeting with her lawyer. Jolyne no longer mentions that she was in a biker gang when she was younger. There is now a hairbrush included in the items that Jolyne's mother left for her. The lawyer is now less detailed when he lists out the items. In the anime, the photo of Jotaro and his wife are shown while the lawyer talks about him, while in the manga it wasn't shown until after. Also, Jolyne no longer mentions when Jotaro was gone while she had a fever. This is now mentioned directly to Jotaro when Jolyne meets with him later. While in the prison van, Jolyne and Hermes now have some more conversation at the beginning of the scene, talking about Jolyne being innocent. The scene of the van crossing the bridge and the narration about the prison takes place earlier than in the manga. Jolyne no longer makes the joke about buying caviar in prison. Jolyne also no longer asks if Hermes is hiding the money in her shoes. When the guard tells Jolyne to get off the bus, the manga makes it clear that he is the same guard who looked like Tom Cruise. He also appeared earlier when Jolyne was removed from her cell. The anime removes both of these pieces of dialogue, so it's not made clear that it's the same person. The guard no longer mentions that he knew where Hermes hid her money because he overheard Jolyne. During the flashback, Romeo no longer mentions Jolyne having been in a biker gang, which is the origin of the tattoo on her arm. In the manga, they originally think that they hit a goat before discovering it was a person. The anime skips this and they realize it right away. Jolyne no longer mentions the other evidence that the car left behind. The anime skips over a bit of dialogue between Jolyne and Romeo after they hide the body. In the manga, there is a short scene of Jolyne getting arrested, with her mom being present, and her being interrogated after. These are skipped in the anime. Jolyne's lawyer no longer mentions that the prosecutor was a friend of his. In the manga, the judge is constantly coughing throughout the scene. This no longer happens in the anime. The prosecution also no longer speaks in the anime. The anime adds a scene after Jolyne is sentenced. She wraps her string around her handcuffs and snaps it, injuring herself. In the manga, she did something similar, only with the straps of her straitjacket. In the scene where Jolyne is strip-searched, the two guards have a longer conversation beforehand in the manga. The scene also goes on longer in the manga, with Hermes seeing Jolyne. The next scene is Jolyne undergoing a physical exam. Jolyne also sees a transgender prisoner. At the end of the scene, she spots her lawyer outside the window. The scene of Jolyne's exam and seeing the prisoner were removed in the anime. However, you can still see the prisoner in the lineup later on. The anime shows Jolyne taking her booking photo, which is shown on the cover of Chapter 2 in the manga. This is now where she sees her lawyer in the anime version. The prisoner shown holding the pendant at the end of Chapter 3 has been updated to make it more clear that it is Gwess. The anime removes a scene where Jolyne gets a haircut in the prison and has to bribe the barber to keep her hair. During the briefing, Loco Barocco no longer mentions that ballpoint pens are forbidden in the prison, or that wedding bands are allowed. The anime also removes the moment where Jolyne steals Loco Barocco's pen after the meeting. The anime no longer shows the lunch lady handing out boxed lunches. The anime skips over Gwess explaining her power and their escape plan and places it after Jolyne is already in the mouse suit. The anime no longer shows the other prisoners and Loco Barocco reacting to the alarm going off. In the manga, Gwess says that the guard is going to get his shotgun or maybe a rifle. In the anime, she only mentions the shotgun. In the manga, the short guard accidentally gets coffee spilled on him again when they respond to the alarm. In the anime, this no longer happens. The anime adds an extra scene of Jolyne and an injured Gwess back in their cell after the fight. Jolyne is also sleeping on the bottom bunk, which Gwess had forbidden her from doing earlier. In a later scene of the manga, Gwess tells Jolyne that she'll allow her to sleep on the bottom bunk, but since we've now already seen her doing that, this line is removed in the anime. In the manga, the blonde girl is reading The Count of Monte Cristo. The anime changes this to a fictional book titled Artemis's Angels. This is based on a real book that is about the history of ballet, titled Apollo's Angels. Similarly, one of the other prisoners' books is The Queen of All Maladies, based on the real book The Emperor of All Maladies. When the blonde girl tries to get to the bathroom, the manga also shows her trying to call a guard to let her out. Emporio's design no longer has the Cubs logo on it, and instead just has a blank blue circle. When the guard hits Jolyne's fingers in the manga, he has another guard with him. In the anime, he's by himself. The anime puts the scene introducing Jungali A right after this. In the manga, it doesn't happen until after Jolyne met with Jotaro. The manga also shows prisoners playing cards outside when their cards are blown away. Jungali A guesses where the cards will go, showcasing his ability to read the wind. This does not happen in the anime. After Jolyne meets Jotaro, a flashback is shown of Jolyne when she was arrested for car theft. This scene is originally from chapter 75 of the manga, but was placed much earlier in the anime. The only section shown is the one with Jolyne under arrest, but in the manga, the entire situation leading to the theft is shown, although this will likely be shown later at the original place it appeared. Some minor visual and audio effects are used to hint at which scenes take place within Whitesnake's dreams. There is now a moment where Jolyne notices her handcuffs are missing, the first hint at her being in a dream. Jotaro no longer tells Jolyne to put out the cigarette before he looks into the hallway. You can no longer hear Jotaro's thoughts where he says that he can only stop time for 2 seconds. The anime skips the scene where Jolyne shows Jotaro the bone. Instead, this is now combined with a similar scene after they escape from the dream. Placing this scene after makes it more clear that the bone was left over from Whitesnake's melting ability. Jungali A's vision is portrayed as a form of clouds in the manga, while in the anime it appears as a kind of green sonar effect. The anime has a new scene where Jotaro is noticed by a guard and uses time stop to disappear. Shortly after Jotaro and Jolyne escape the dream, Whitesnake is shown for the first time. However, in the anime, only his hand is shown and he doesn't make a full appearance until a bit later. In the manga, Jotaro is more surprised when Jolyne throws the pendant at him, while in the anime he catches it easily. More dialogue from Jotaro about his confidence in Jolyne is shown after he is unconscious. In the anime, the guards are shown searching earlier than in the manga. You can no longer see the dogs spot Jolyne. The anime has a similar shot of the dogs up on the fence, but Jolyne is no longer there. The anime doesn't show the pendant being dropped back into Jotaro's pocket. In the manga, Jolyne wraps a string around the trigger of one of the guards to make his gun go off and avoid being shot. In the anime, the guard never shoots to begin with. In the manga, Whitesnake has more dialogue after shooting Jungali A. The anime shows an additional shot of Jolyne in the punishment ward before switching to Hermes. In the anime, Hermes no longer says how long she was bedridden for. When checking her memory in the manga, Hermes says the birthday of Mickey Mouse. In the anime, this was changed to be Bugs Bunny, possibly because Bugs Bunny is a Warner Bros. Owned character. The birthday was also changed accordingly to match Bugs Bunny. The conversation between Hermes and McQueen after his first suicide attempt is no longer in the manga. In it, she asks him if his urge for suicide is compulsive and how he got his ability. After the second suicide attempt in the manga, McQueen mentions a girl he used to know who moved away. In the manga scene where Hermes meets Emporio, she is brought into the ghost room where she learns about it and meets with Anasui and Weather. This scene is moved to later in the anime, and instead of Hermes, it's with Jolyne, so I'll cover that scene there. The anime adds a scene with Emporio telling Jolyne about what happened to Hermes, and giving her McQueen's memory disc. The anime no longer explains how the bracelets are unlocked. In the manga, Hermes has the disc with her, and Jolyne has her re-watch it to find clues. In the anime, they don't have the disc with them and just talk about what they've already seen on it. In the manga, that conversation takes place out in the open, while in the anime, it's inside of a small shed. The anime adds a moment where Hermes is eating a tomato from the garden. In the manga, one of the prisoners tries to sell drugs to Jolyne. The dialogue of one of the prisoners saying to call for help is removed. The scene of Hermes in the bucket goes on much longer, showing the plankton multiplying. In the anime, one of the prisoners says that Jolyne caused the scene, referring to when she talked during the assembly. In the manga, she's much more specific with what she's talking about. The other prisoners also have more dialogue to support them not being the killer. In the manga, Hermes mentions that she saw McQueen again and that he had no memories. When FF takes over Atro's body, she doesn't list as much information from her memories in the anime. In the anime, the scene with Pucci and Mirashon is moved to before FF learns about Catch. The first scene with FF watching another prisoner play is removed. Jolyne no longer compares FF to Marilyn Monroe. Also, the line where Jolyne calls FF queer is removed. In the anime, Mirashon now has a scar on her forehead from where Pucci smashed her head into the table. In the manga, Jolyne meets Mirashon when she accidentally bumps into her while playing. In the anime, she first meets them when she makes the bet. In the manga, FF is distracted when Mirashon sits on the bench and messes up her throw, and then barely catches it when it comes back. In the anime, she is only distracted during the catching part. The manga has the game go on longer, including a scene where Jolyne is hit with a basketball and has to use her string to catch up to the ball. Although it's not included in the anime, the basketballs are still seen in the portion of the opening representing this fight. The anime removes the scene where Hermes' gold fillings are taken. The manga has a scene where Hermes tries to offer McQueen's hidden money, but the stand rejects this since it isn't hers. The anime removes a small scene where FF takes a quick drink of water before catching the ball. The anime removes another moment where Jolyne causes two prisoners to fight to keep them away from the ball. In the manga, when FF throws the ball into the elevator, Jolyne unravels it to catch it. The ending of the fight with Mirashon is changed quite a bit. In the manga, Jolyne forces her to deactivate the stand while they're still in the elevator. In the anime, however, the game of catch is still going and Jolyne has to throw to FF as soon as the door opens. In the manga, the guard takes the ball from Jolyne's hand while on the second floor, while in the anime he catches it while she's throwing to FF and keeps it in his pocket. In the manga, the stand attacks Jolyne for cheating by threatening Mirashon, while in the anime, it attacks her for losing the game. The nature of the final attack is also different. In the manga, the 1,000 throws seemingly count as a new bet, since the previous game was interrupted. However, in the anime, this is still considered part of the previous bet, since the guard catching the ball still counted. The anime also shows Jolyne having to retrieve the ball from the guard's pocket and unravel it, since in the manga it was just on the floor for her to grab. Before the Savage Garden episodes, the anime includes a new monologue from Pucci. The manga has a detailed description of what is in the store of the prison, while the anime only shows it for a brief moment. The anime includes a new scene where Jolyne bribes the guard from the first episode to pass by. In the manga, Jolyne is called by Emporio into the music room where she meets Weather Report. However, in the anime, as mentioned previously, the first scene with the ghost room is put here. It plays out mostly the same, but there are some notable differences. Anasui's design has been changed to be more consistent with later appearances, no longer having the more feminine early design. Anasui also leaves the room after looking at Jolyne. Emporio no longer mentions the Liechtenstein print in the room, although it is still there. He also doesn't demonstrate the ghost gun on the cockroaches, so it's unknown when he'll actually show that he can use it. A new scene is added where Jolyne notices the clock in the room and thinks she's late, but really it was just a stopped clock from before the room was a ghost. The anime has Jolyne exit into the music room, which is where she originally met Weather in the manga. The scene of Pucci in the control room is shown earlier than before. A new flashback to when Lang Wrangler committed murder is shown. In the manga, Jolyne holds up Lang Wrangler's mask to the camera to make Pucci think he's at the door. In the flashback with Pucci and Dio, we can now see the wine Dio is drinking more closely. It's the same wine that Will Zeppeli had in the Phantom Blood anime. Dio's design in this scene is changed to more closely resemble his appearance in Part 3. A short scene is now shown of Jotaro burning the notebook in Dio's mansion. The manga gives more specific accounts of animals falling from the sky, which took place in Wales. A longer ending scene is shown with Jolyne being taken to the infirmary, and Hermes and FF looking at the courtyard. After the credits, the scene of Whitesnake giving Dio's bone to Sports Max is shown early. And that was every difference I could find in the first 12 episodes of the Stone Ocean anime. I think out of all the JoJo seasons so far, Part 6 actually has some of the most notable changes. First is the volume of changes themselves. Even though this is just the first third of the season, this video is already longer than some of the other full season videos. A lot of small scenes are removed or rearranged, and even larger things like the course of the Mirashon fight or the ghost room scene are altered. I feel like in the early episodes, a lot of these changes are for the worse, since the story feels more rushed in some places. However, some of the other changes, like the new scenes between fights and Jolyne entering the ghost room, make a lot of sense and help the early story flow a bit better. Overall, I thought the first half was alright, with the second half improving a lot and giving a satisfying conclusion to this chunk of the season. I'm definitely looking forward to the rest of Stone Ocean, and you can expect a differences video covering that as well. Most likely we won't see the new episodes until sometime next year. However, I will still have a differences video before then with the release of 3 more episodes for the Rohan TV drama. With the stories they're adapting, I'm really looking forward to the changes they make, especially when it comes to Cheap Trick. The episodes are releasing at the end of this month, so check back here then for when I make a video going over it. If you want to be updated on new videos or leave suggestions, join the Hamon Beat Discord using the link in the description. To receive rewards like Discord perks and some uncut videos, you can support the channel on Patreon. And finally, for future videos, subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching. This is the part of the video where I thank my $5 and up patrons. Thank you to Tony, The Owl God, Alex Ramirez, Raziana, Doorbell, Cloudy, Monkman, Ashton Joseph Miller, Crayon, Jesper Jansen, Rigo Vids, Zukato, Shane Giger, Sentai, Pumpkin Doge, Marrow, Bailey Smile, Ali, Almighty Quarth, Oof, and PBA SVG.